plant. And they had absolute loyalty to Ford Motor Company. They had no reason to be loyal to a union that still had Jim Crow clauses in it. At Ford Motor Company, the amount of blacks they hired were not just confined to the foundry, you know, and those heavy places, but he had them in the assembly plant, in the engine plant, all over, so it upgraded. When they organized GM and Chrysler, they didn't have that contradiction, so the same methods that they used that worked at GM and Chrysler did not work at Ford. They had to back up. Dave talks about how they had to back up and have big meetings in the city to figure out how to win over these black workers to the union cause. John L. Lewis and the coal miners came up. They had big rallies at the old Olympia Stadium. They brought in Paul Robeson, you know, to sing and address the crowd and convince them that we're going to have a multinational union. Matter of fact, he says, John L. Lewis opened up the meeting saying, is anybody in this room that think our Negro brothers not an equal part of this union, then you get out of here now. They had that kind of forcefulness in the discussion for solidarity at the Rubens plant. They created this special a group that they showed of black workers to figure out how to get to the rest of the black workers. They put out at least 6 editions of a newspaper called the Ford Facts. They sent sound trucks throughout the black community. They had Reverend Hill and a lot of other progressive ministers join their side, and they went to work to try to win over these black workers for the union cause. And only after they've done that were they able to get the victorious union in April of 1941. I didn't bring any of those old papers with me, but those are available over at the Russell Library in the archives of these special papers that came out just for the black community that was printed by the International Union. When you tell people they've done something like that today, people don't want to believe they ever did anything like that. But there it is on the record. And I think it's important to know that the solidarity that developed out of the Rouge plant was different than any other plant that we were confronted with. And even today, when you look at the UAW leadership and the blacks that's in leadership, most of them come out of Local 600 because there's a real solidarity there. That solidarity was won, you know, on the battlefield and not just ideologically. You know, so you had a certain kind of solidarity coming out of Rouge plant. And I think it's important because when we get to where we at with the drum movement and stuff in the 60s, there was always already a legacy of struggle around discrimination. So this thing just didn't jump out of nowhere. It had a history to it and a continuity to it. At the time we were struggling, we didn't realize all the continuity that was there, but clearly it had a continuity and a strain of struggle all the way from the end of the war up to today. And even during the war, during World War II, we still had strikes where when black workers went into final assembly lines at the Packard plant, all the whites walked out. Same thing at Tempton Axe, all the whites walked out when blacks went into those positions. So you see, these other factories didn't have the kind of solidarity that developed at the Rouge, and we had those kind of fights that we had to take, that took place. So anyway, I want to stop right there at that point to tell you, but I think it's so important to talk about, at some point, these other sections of the labor movement, these community organizations, that ain't nothing really but part of the labor movement. That had not been for them, we couldn't have done the organizing we've done. And most people think that the labor movement is just the trade unions. And if that's the case, then we will never win anything. You know, because you get caught up in the trade union bureaucracy and set up a caucus and follow trade union rules, you ain't gonna never win. You need to set the conditions by which you're gonna fight, and you don't need to do them being tied in to a caucus with a bunch of rules. If you can't determine the conditions that you're gonna fight under, then you ain't gonna never win. So listen, I want to open up and let other people talk about some of the history of the struggles that we had and share that with you all. And you all ask questions about things that we can, because I got a crew here that probably can handle it all. So I want y'all to just open up.